Welcome to another incredible story. Ready for today's story? Let's get started. My Fiance, 25 male, lied about speaking Korean fluently to me, 24 female, for 3 years. I don't know what to think. Plus update. Original post. I've been with Jimmy for 3 years now. We first met in college and we pretty much instantly hit it off. I'm full Korean while he's half Korean, even though he doesn't look like it at all. I was slightest disappointed when I found out that he didn't speak Korean. Pretty much everyone in my family speak it so more than anything I thought it would be a issue, but it was. He told me that he didn't know it, but he was studying it, which I thought was a nice gesture. He met my parents for the first time and they speak English but prefer not to speak it much. My parents complained to me pretty much the entire night and even bad-mouthed him quite a bit because of his actions and not understand. I didn't know at the time, but I really defended, and although most dinners at my parents' house were them being fake nice to him, I tried my best to stick up for him. The first time my parents met his dad and his sister, they spoke very poorly of them. It was downright insulting. His dad had some pretty rude, weird behavior that was frowned upon. I would always talk with my parents on the phone while we lived on campus, often on speakerphone, and Jimmy would just kind of play dumb. Even with my friends, many of them were very rude to him after I told him he didn't understand it. He proposed to me at our favorite park 3 months ago in Korean, and I was so blown away by it. I thought it was the sweetest thing in the world. I cried for joy and happy accepted. I was so proud of him. Fast forward to last week, one of Jimmy's old-time friends had returned from his assignment overseas and met us for dinner. Really nice and respectable guy. And he talking and just full-blown starts speaking in Korean to Jimmy, and I'm taken back. Oh, he doesn't know much. He's still learning. The guy scratches his head and goes, "Jimmy is the guy who helped teach me Korean. What are you talking about?" And at first, I didn't know what to think. I was relieved and excited that Jimmy actually knew it. But the more I thought about it, the more angry I became. When I confronted him about why he didn't tell me sooner, he said that when his mother passed on his 18th birthday, he stopped speaking altogether and just started telling people he didn't understand it. He said that it reminds him of her, which is understandable, but I don't know if I can accept something like that. When I told my parents, my dad was overjoyed, while my mother had a panicked look on herself as she recalled all the nasty things they said about him and his family in front of them. My dad seemed to brush it off and fully understood Jimmy's reasoning for not speaking it anymore, but I don't know if I can be so forgiving. I feel like he's been secretly spying on me for the past 3 years. He lied to me about it. Even my friends, he treated everyone so kindly, even though they all at some point talked bad about him. I don't know if he's noble and romantic or if he's just been using it to his advantage. Our relationship is otherwise perfect, and it seems like such a silly minor detail to get upset over, but I don't know. Any outside perspective or input? Am I wrong for not letting this go so lightly? I think he should have told me way sooner. Comments OP replies before reading the update. Karake, your parents and friends were acting rudely. They should apologize to him and hope he's happy to forgive. As for you, you're in a relationship for 3 years, yet never took an interest in how his Korean studies were going or tried to have a conversation with him to practice what he's learned. OP, not really, I would say little phrases here and there, and he would respond according for the most part. I never actually sat down with him because, I mean, everyone says they'll live a language someday. I didn't think he would actually stick with it. He always studied on his own time. Another kitty. I can understand being upset about being lied to, but I think what you're feeling is probably a lot of embarrassment about how your parents and friends act. Sometimes people who are biracial are used to not being accepted by one or both sides of their cultures. No matter what he does, to some people, Jimmy will never be Korean enough, even though that's part of who he is. You need to understand this because if you have kids and they look a little like him, they might be treated like Jimmy one day too. Don't you wonder how your boyfriend was able to sit through all that abuse and not say anything, and why he would still be with you after all that? If anything, he has a right to be mad and judge you for having these kind of people in your life. But maybe he is a calm enough person to know that when people say bad things about you, it shows you more about their character than yours. Or maybe sadly, he has seen this kind of negative and judgmental behavior before from other relatives. I suspect that this might be the case. He is used to people judging him because they've judged all his life and he has learned to just brush it off. Like I said, I do understand feeling upset that he was completely honest with you. You want to be in a relationship with someone who is able to trust you, and 3 years is a long time. However, I can understand where he's coming from too. Talk it over. See if you can use this to come to a deeper understanding of each other. Maybe you can use this to become a stronger person who can stand up to your relatives and friends more, or be a better example at least, and maybe you can have a better understanding of his heart and character. This may put a distance between you, but you can also choose to let it draw you closer. OP, I'll admit a lot of my feeling is embarrassment after that dinner when we got back to our apartment. I looked him in the eyes and cried like a little baby. I didn't really know what to say or do, and the only thing in my mind was how shitty my friends and family were to him and how he would face them over and over again willingly. You make good points, and I do think I'm being selfish trying to make this about me when it should be able him or us. And I want to see it in a positive way and use it to bring us closer. I guess I'm just like my parents when I say I have this small doubt in the back of my mind, preventing me from doing so wholehearted. Now, for the update. First, I want to say that I admit I was totally wrong for trying to make this about me, and I realized my parents and friends, as well as myself, were all horrible people, which I agree with. I spoke with Jimmy same day I posted the thread. I actually invited him over to my parents' place for dinner, but before that, I stopped by his parents' house to apologize to him, his dad, and his younger sister for everything because I felt so embarrassed and horrible. I apologized profusely to his dad, who did nothing but laugh. His dad was beyond understanding and actually spoke Korean quite well himself. He actually laughed, saying that he understands why my parents were the way they are. He even told me about the story of when he first met Jimmy's mom's parents in Korea and how much she warned him about their behavior. He said that she explained it to him and he understood and was able to respect where their concerns were coming from in terms of wanting to preserve their language and all heritage. He told me it started off rocky, but they shut up so fast when he surprised them and spoke it fluently. He said his relationship with her parents now stronger than ever, especially since she passed away, and he calls them twice a week just to chat. He said that when he heard that I stuck up for Jimmy, he was proud of me, even though he never said anything. Jimmy's sister, she's only 12, but is super sweet and mature for her age. She said that when Jimmy started dating me was the day he started teaching and talking to her in Korean again. It was really precious the way she described it. His dad talks her as well, but she really likes when Jimmy does it. As for Jimmy and I, we've been working together to resolve our communication issues, and we spent a lot of time talking all about us. I admitted all my concerns and he addressed them one by one and told me exactly what I needed to hear. He apologized for keeping it from me for so long and told me that he didn't do it maliciously. He just didn't want to associate Korean with the negativity that my parents and friends brought, which I find is extremely understandable. He said he regarded the language as something pure that him and his mother often shared together that he didn't want to engage in with my parents and friends. He admitted that it probably sounded silly, but I understood him on an emotional level. He told me about how close him and his mom were. We had never talked this in depth about it before, and I cried like a little baby because I could tell how much he loved and missed her. He told me that she'd always warned him about the complications of marrying a full-blood Korean while he was a teenager, and he didn't truly understand until he met my parents and friends. I even found out that Jimmy was born and lived in Korea for 12 years. I feel like our relationship is stronger as ever. My doubts and worries are gone, and we're going to be a lot more open with one another. I'm ashamed I ever tried to doubt him. He has been speaking Korean to me a lot more exclusively since I've apologized to him. Most probably won't understand, but he took me to see his mother's grave, and it was probably one of the most touching moments I've ever had with him. I kneeling beside him, listening as he told her about me, basically how he knew he had found the person he would make new memories with and how he would have to go back on a promise. I don't think I've ever cried so much in my life. I couldn't even stop. We had dinner with my parents on Tuesday and Jimmy spoke to them in Korean for the first time and my parents apologized for their tongue. I think I didn't make it as clear as I should in my original post, but after I defended him, they cut back significantly. Jimmy apologized for their years of disappointment, teasing them for their original concerns. He told them a little about his mom, and when he told them his mother's maiden name, my father's eyes lit up. He didn't really go into detail, but he might have known of her family. It made him extremely chatty and open. I've never seen my father so excited to talk to someone before in my life. Jimmy also brought up that his family are planning a trip to Korea this summer, and he offered to pay for all of us to come with them. My parents haven't been back in years, and they happily accepted his offer. Jimmy is wonderful, really. I'm lucky to have him, and I'll never let him go. Thanks for the advice. Comments, OP replies. Fix Bliss. This is all fine and good, but still your parents and friends who talk shit are pretty bad. Luckily, your fiancé is actually Korean enough and we don't need to belittle him to his face. We OOP. My parents and friends are very bad for talking shit in Korean when they thought he couldn't understand. I realized the magnitude of their actions, and I've even told Jimmy that if he wanted us, or just himself, to go low or no contact with them, then I would total support and understand. I think my first post exaggerated the number of times they did. Then, after I defended him the first time, they cut back significantly. If Jimmy is willing and able to forgive them, then I'm just going to leave it at that. No point in me forcing. He doesn't seem concerned over. He's a much better person than myself for sure, because I would hold it against them. But Jimmy values family bonds quite highly, and he wants to have a relationship with my parents, and he wants me to keep a good relationship with them as well. As for my friends, I'll be cutting many of them out of my life. Donnie Punani. I'm sorry, but I have to ask, how is Jimmy so forgiving of your parents? It seems like they were being downright shitbags to him for absolutely no reason. Is that the custom or something? Don't speak our language, we'll just talk shit behind your back? OOP. I'm surprised Jimmy could forgive your parents, but he's a better man than I am. I'm just a little upset at my own culture's exclusivity superiority complex. It's just so annoying at times. I feel the same way, and honestly, Jimmy is one of a kind, I feel like, in terms of forgiveness. But after talking to him about his mom and family, I realized that he regards family very highly and doesn't believe in cutting times over insulting behavior. He told me that his grandparents are guilty of this superiority exclusivity complex that my parents seem to have had. All I can say is that we'll try our best to break the cycle, at least with our direct families. And I'll teach my further kids the importance of respect regardless of appearance or race. Story 2. My stepdaughter wants her real dad to give her away. Plus update. Original post. My stepdaughter will be getting married on August 3rd. The wedding planning has consumed most of her and her mother's life. I say her mother because we aren't married, though we've lived together for 10 years for the past 6 months. My stepdaughter graduated last December from university. I paid for her to go to college, though it was a state school. It still ran $40,000. She does not have a job and has been living with us for the duration of her college career and since her graduation. I also bought her a car to get back and forth from school when she finished high school. From time to time, her deadbeat father would pop into her life and she would fawn all over him. Although he has not contributed a cent to her education or paid any child support, though that is my girlfriend's fault as CEs, was not part of the settlement. She still loves him and wants him in her life. He stays long enough to break her heart by skipping town and breaking some promise that he made her. The wedding venue holds 250 people max. I gave them a list of 20 people that I wanted invited, since I was paying for everything. They told me that was no problem and they take care of it. So I let these people know they'd be getting an invite and they should save the date. Saturday, I saw one of my friends on this list at the golf course and asked if he was coming. He told me that he wasn't invited. He told me that he got an announcement, but not an invitation. He had it in his backseat, along with probably 6 months of mail, and showed it to me. Sure enough, it was just an announcement and my name was nowhere on it. It had her dad's name and her mom's name and not mine. This led to a pretty big fight with my girlfriend as I found out that none of my list of 20 made the cut for the final guest list because 250 people is very tight. I was pissed, but not a hell of a lot I could do because the important people in my life had already been offended. My girlfriend said if some people didn't risk VS, I might be able to get a couple people in, but that is an ultimate slap in the face in my opinion. So I was boiling on Saturday. Yesterday, we had a Sunday dinner with the future in-laws family and us and a surprise guest, a real dad. At this little dinner, my stepdaughter announced that her real dad was going to be able to make it to her wedding and that now he'd be able to give her away. This was greeted with a chorus of, "Oh, how great and how wonderful," say. I don't think I have ever felt so angry and so disrespected. I was shaking. I took a few seconds to gather my composure because I honestly wasn't sure if I would cry or start throwing punches or both. Once I was sure I'd be able to speak, I got up from my chair and said I'd like to make a toast. I can't remember exactly what I said, but the gist of it was this: I'd like to make a toast. The sound of spoons against glasses ring in my ears. It has been my great pleasure to be a part of this family for the past 10 years. Aw, how sweet. At this point in my life, I feel I owe a debt of gratitude to bride and groom because they have opened my eyes to something very important. Confident smiles exchanged. They have showed me that my position in this family is not what I once thought it was. And now a glimmer of confusion and shock begins to spread on the faces in the room. Though I once thought of myself as the patriarch or godfather of the family, commanding great respect and sought out for help in times its need, it seems instead that I hold the position of an IT mem, goodbye team of money, but not much else. As I have been replaced as host, both on the invitations and in the ceremony, I am resigning my financial duties as host to my successor, real dad. So cheers to the happy couple and the path they have chosen. I finished my drink. You all can let yourselves out. Is this selfish? I'm supposed to shell out 40, 50 grand for a wedding that I can't invite anyone to, that I am not a part of. I'm so done with this crap. I'm done with my stepdaughter. I'm done with my girlfriend. I transferred the money out of our joint account last night. She has not had a job since she moved in with me. This morning, I called all the vendors I had written checks to for deposits to refund my money. At present, it looks like I'll lose around $1,500 for the venue, but the other vendors have been great about refunding. Now, for the comment before reading the updates, deleted. Sometimes you're having a kind of murky day with less than fun thoughts. Then you read shit like this and just kind of appreciate that your problems are nowhere near as absurd as this guy's. Pepper Ann, 1 in a million. My mother-in-law and I have a good, functional relationship, but I suppose if we weren't related, we wouldn't seek out each other's company. Our personalities don't complement each other, and there have been times where it's felt a bit strained or awkward. But my goodness me, she is such a wonderful person. She's generous, steps in to help whenever she can, keeps her head in a crisis, and can basically handle anything. Reddit has made me realize that the people worth keeping close are the good people, not the people you click with. I used to make jokes about having a typically awkward relationship with my mother-in-law, but not now. Now, for the updates. Update 1. The immediate aftermath was tantrum and people sitting there mumbling while not actually saying anything to me, but to each other. After much yelling with the girlfriend about me being selfish, I spent the night in my home office and no one knocked on my door, not once. Today's aftermath is kind of depressing for me. Girlfriend brought me bride's wedding planner to show me how much work I was ruining. I thumbed through it, found a page in the music section for father-daughter dances. All of the songs were catered to real dad's taste. So I thought they were just being disrespectful, but now I'm feeling like they never really gave a crap at all, especially since the menu included 2 ingredients I'm allergic to that actually made me laugh. Either way, I'm glad to be done, returned the planner, and asked her when she and bride could move out. Also, I never promised to pay for the wedding. I offered them the use of my home when they were sure it was going to be small, but other than that, all I've heard is how it's the bride's family that should pay, so let it be the bride's family then. Aka, not not me. Final update. Girlfriend and bride are now moved out. They are moving in with the groom. It was very hard not to be petty with some of the belongings they took with them, but it's done and I switched out the locks and now it's time for a brew. I can't believe how popular this story got, but I feel good to be given support by so many. If I find out what happens with the wedding, I will let you know, but I can't guarantee that I will put in the effort to find out. From what I've heard, they are trying to scale things back and get his parents to help out. Girlfriend burned bridges when I found out she tried to write herself a check on our joint account the day after the unpleasantness. By then, I had already moved money, so I guess I'm a bigger ass than her, but I could feel it coming. That's all. Thanks.